Vámonos.
I don't give a fuck about the brand.
Airport.
Let's do that.
Again, why would you do that?
I get some disabilities, you need a bath and not a shower.
كنت سليبنج هورمون ما كان لي حاجه
يعني صحيح.
كان قاعد في البيت.
So like it has to follow that whatever we
Yeah. Yeah, especially.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not a holiday. It's like last minute, but
It requires a lot of
planning.
And definitely made us look at purple.
Çünkü yani yarım saat
¿Cuántos kilómetros es eso?
But it's like surviving long enough for that to be the case.
It's so bad. I was meant to post and stuff. I was too much.
And 10 to 8, I get out of the room.
She was, but she was like,
want to try another one.
Symmetry and organised thinking as opposed to nature.
là tuột lại.
Transpose that backwards to her bringing me up.
Nice circle. Yes, welcome to the San Gennaro Festival. What's up? Okay, we are here just right now to give you the best. Let's put one out because we are the speaker factor squad.
This is a toilet over.
Sors, sors.
2 for a 5 and a cotton stand.
Having a bag, Norman. Ironman, come on. Having a bag, Norman. Having a bag, Norman. Come on. Ironman.
C'est ça?
Carlo, it's all got to go today, look. Pick it where you like a fancy, look.
Blue record.
Having a bag, Norman. Gonna pump too quick. Super 20 donkeys today, everyone! I sell the best donkeys in the world! Oh, there's one of them
La vita è bella, Danny, la tua. Quello sta meglio di me e te, dai.
Tra poco mi dovete venire a trovare dietro le sbarre. Dietro le sbarre. Arresti.
E la scoperta
qualcosa di più per
really enjoy it or if it's coffee.
being around here, you know.
So where we go?
Passengers intending
ready to leave. And at seat service, light refreshments is available on the train. Platform 2, 1653 Grand Central.